asking is that if the United States Supreme Court should rule same-sex marriages are constitutional throughout the land, the United States, you're not taking the position that those of us in the state of Texas should disregard the law. You're not saying that to us, are you?
I certainly think whatever the Supreme Court rules has value, and we'll have to see what they say. And
No. All I'm asking is...
and I don't think that's what the bill says either. It talks about the funding. The Supreme Court would not be able to rule against the funding of the bill. The parts of the bill that say that you cannot allocate local funds. That's what the language of the bill talks about. It says state and local funds may not be used, not about the recognition of...
But you do believe that if the United States Supreme Court rules that something is the law of the land, that those of us within the state of Texas should follow the dictates and operate within the parameters of whatever the law is established by the Supreme Court.
Depending on what it is they say. And that's what I think is important. We don't have a law from the state of Texas that's being challenged at the Supreme Court to where the Supreme Court will be directly telling us what to do as a state. It's hard to predict what they're going to do. And so until we see a decision from the U.S. Supreme Court, I think that's when we decide what it is that Texas has to do from that point, and what opportunities the state courts and our government has on that issue. And so the Supreme Court has been very unpredictable on this and somewhat confusing, obviously, for some people. So, but I certainly think that there's value in following a direct order from the U.S. Supreme Court. What it'll look like from them, we won't know until we see it.
Right.
And so, but the issue here is that our state laws are not being followed, and we have precedent for which to follow them.
And again, I'm not trying to get into debate. I'm just very.
And I'm just trying to stick to what happened in what the bill talks about.
I'm just very sensitive because I know, based on my own history and the history of those who look like me, that there have been many state laws that have worked against people's interests, and it was when the Supreme Court stepped in that those laws, no matter where the state may be,
right,
that those laws conflicted with the supreme law of the land. And so I think, would be very, very reticent to take a position that when the Supreme Court makes a ruling, whether we like it or not, that we then find ways to try to get around those laws, because history tells us that is not a good precedent to set. That's the only thing I'm saying.
I understand your position.
Representative Huberty.